Hey guys, Sean, Leslie, Liver Dummies. I wanted to do a quick little preventative maintenance video. So, this M17 is equipped with Mustafa spring. This one has about 300 rounds on it now. But this isn't the one that I'm going to open up. So if you were watching yesterday, I had couple of mishaps with this guy, and that was one, my BRH wasn't fully latched, and also by no fault of my own, yeah right, I forgot to put the breech block into this one, and I jammed a couple of rounds into the bolt. It cut the rounds. Those canted ride balls, the PVC coating is fairly pliable to some degree, and I don't think it damaged the bolt. But what I'm concerned about was my guide pin here when this wasn't latched. So rather than just keep running it, perfect opportunity, guys. If you think something went wrong, don't just leave it. These things come apart pretty easy. M17's 2 pins really to take it apart. And at least have a look-see at what's inside. This one has probably only about 260 rounds. The other one's a little bit further ahead. So we are going to have a look at the combination spring that was in here a little earlier than I want to. I usually do it about 500 rounds, but we'll just start with that. So we are going to just strip it down. Just get some of the bulky stuff off. Tank and my mag. I'm not really too worried about the barrel. What I like to use is just a pick. I've seen this before. And I just grab my little pins here. Look at that magnet. I know you guys hate this mat, and I probably should have just got a different color. But the magnet has saved me many a times when things start to go flying everywhere. Just tipped up my washers off there. And I will push my pins out. I'll put my marker into fire. There we go. And oh yes, and I remember now, to get the bolt out with the BRH, I actually have to pull the BRH back, and hopefully you can kind of catch this, and you kind of just pull it on a little bit of an angle. There is some little bit of play in this BRH, so you kind of just lift up as you're tucking the bolt out and under. So just looking over these springs. So this is an FSC spring, and this is a TIPX spring. And sad to say, even though I've only been running 850 PSI in this marker, this TIPX spring has actually started to deform. That's a bummer. This does work in this combination, but I'm thinking, what am I thinking? I'm thinking I might actually grab one of my other FSC springs. Well, I'm gonna run this. I'm just gonna keep running this, but I think at the 500 round mark, I'm going to cut an FSC spring to match my TIPX and see if that doesn't do me any better. The FSC spring looks brand new. But this TIPX is right here. These coils are kind of separating a little bit here, which is not ideal, although from the earlier tests, I pounded on that and it still worked even when this thing was mangled looking. But yeah, I definitely don't want to do that. So combination spring works, but I think it needs a tweak. So, and it may even be easier to get 2 FSC springs and cut it, but blah, 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 enough chit chat. What I wanted to see was, my bolt is looking rather dry. So I'm just gonna wipe it off anyways here. And you can see my, my silicone washer is still doing its job. It is not torn up or anything funny like that. And I got just a regular M17 bumper on the front. All looks well. Now here is what I was concerned about, and I can see a problem. So when you get your bolt out, first thing you should do is check these halves. This was a factory sealed bolt. I haven't done anything to this marker. I don't know if I got a square small enough here, guys. All right, tricks of the trade. When you don't have a square small enough, a card will do in a pinch. And I'll get a little closer here so you can see my pin has taken a little damage. And I'm probably gonna be able to show it. So I'll pull the card flat on the, it's gonna be tough to show you guys. I might have to do it like this. Flat on your bolt. It's barely detectable to probably the camera. But this pin is laid back a little bit. So what you're looking for is you want this pin perpendicular to the bolt, and here's the other test. If it's been bent, it's probably loose, and this is loose. So you could keep running it like that, but you're not doing yourselves any favors. The chance of it causing other issues is very high. So if your pin is straight, and it's loose, you simply undo it and reset it with red Loctite. If it's bent, it's garbage. You have to remove it and reset it with red Loctite with a straight guide pin. The issue arises if you don't fix it and it becomes so loose that it actually snaps off. You're gonna have a problem getting it out of that. You're gonna have a problem getting it out of there. So I might have to grab some pliers here, but let's see if I can just kung fu grip it. Nope, we're gonna need pliers. All right, we're back at the pliers. So I just used a pair of channel locks and I got some hockey tape on there. Keeps from damaging stuff. Just out of curiosity though, this pin, it may not have actually been bent. It may have just been loose. Here, I'm gonna have another look at this. So that's your guide pin there. That's just, you know what? I'm gonna tighten it back in there. I'm gonna tighten it in there though. And we'll see. Was it actually just loose or was it bent? Ah! Where'd my high-tech level go here? Or square? So you know what, guys? It was actually just loose. So what we're gonna do is reset it. So take it completely out. I like to just see if I can pick some of the existing Loctite out of there. This is red Loctite at the factory. You can actually see the red Loctite in there. Cleaner the better, although Loctite does bond really well to itself. Okay, so I just picked all the crud out of there. That actually looks pretty clean. I have compressed air just hanging out over here, so just a quick blow job. And for kicks, I brought out a new guide pin. Just gonna thread it in, and just to confirm that I'm not crazy and it's actually just loose. Nah, we're good. Okay, well, glad I caught that. So my bowl halves are good. I'm not gonna bother messing with that. When these two halves come loose, it's time to reset it. Again, it's set with Loctite from the factory, and my other M17, I've only reset it once, so, and it's got, I'm talking probably over 4,000 shots on it now, so. All right, so we get some red Loctite. Make sure it's red. Loctite likes to play this trick on people where they have blue packaging like this, but it says permanent, like that one does. And I have blue ones with red and blue ones with white that say permanent, so just make sure you grab the right one is all. Oh yeah, I should shake this up. It's been a while since I used it. The way that Milsig actually recommends you reset this pin is put this in the chuck of a drill and spin it in as fast and as tight as you can, because it's not really imperative that you don't, this surface stays smooth. I mean, you don't want this top. You don't want to damage the top. This is what's really kind of riding in your rail. The sides isn't that critical. I mean, yeah, if you had a chunk hanging off or something, of course you don't want that. But I don't do that. I don't use the drill method. I've only ever set them hand tight. So I'm just gonna put a tiny little dab on there. It doesn't need much because it's just a small little. There you go, you see that? Just a dab. I only put on one side. It will find its way where it needs to be. Carefully thread it in. So I've done it clearly as tight as I can, but it's pretty polished little shaft, so I'll just put my channel locks on it here briefly, give it a little turn. And that's it. I usually like to just take a rag here and just wipe the excess off. Because it's a through hole, you put too much in, it can leak out in here. And yeah, when you reassemble your bolt, you can get on your shaft. Obviously bad, especially if it was sitting like that overnight, you could have a serious problem. So make sure you wipe the excess off when you're doing a guide pin. Like I said, there is, there, barely catch it there, a C. It's a through hole, so just make sure it doesn't drip through into your inside your bolt. And that is it. So I'm happy I caught that ahead of time. And let's just throw it back together quick. So put a lube on there. Lube in the donut. Once I squish it down, once I squish the bolt down, I just give it a wipe there so it doesn't all come squishing out everywhere. Put a little on the bolt. And the spring. In this case, I'll be reinstalling my little combination spring, so TIPX spring goes first. Just take some excess off of there. Wipe this bad boy up. Plop it on there. Wipe my hands off. And it's actually easier with the BRH, like I said, I remembered from when I put this in the first time. Take your bolt and your spring, pull your BRH back and pull down on your bolt until it tucks in. You can see how it just kind of fell in that little groove there. And once it's in, they can all go back together. There we go. Regulator back in. And actually, little known fact, you can run your regulator upside down. Just for some of you guys out there. It's not as aesthetically pleasing, and if you have a BRH, clearly you cannot pull it back if you ran your regulator upside down, but it works. Put a little downward pressure on it. Put one pin through. I usually just do one at a time. Sometimes I get greedy. And some days I'm good and that works, but whatever. Once you get one in, then it's hands-free. You don't have to worry about nothing. Slap your other pin in. Forget your washer. Rotate that pin so the hole is where I can reach it. And voila, little minor preventive maintenance goes a long way. So that Loctite, it's got to set for 24 hours, guys. So once you do that, set your marker aside for 24, and after that, away you go. All right, hope it was helpful.